All right, so let's take a look at 9.2 homework question number 3. In this particular question, our researchers are um, investigating the effect of color on creativity. So they have subjects that have a red background and subjects that have a blue background, and they're both asked to think of creative uses for a brick. Um, Responses were scored by a panel of judges, and the higher the score, the more the creativity. So researchers are making the claim that blue enhances performance on a creative task. So we assume that the two samples are independent, simple random samples selected from normally distributed populations. And we do not assume that the population standard deviations are equal. So in other words, we'll want to use the t-test. So let's see. So use an alpha level of 0.05. I'm going to write that down. Alpha is equal to 0.05. And then here are the summary statistics, which I've already written down in advance. They give us N, X bar, and S for both the blue group and the red group. All right. So, and I'll show you just what I wrote down. I wrote down population 1 is blue, population 2 is red. The null hypothesis is that they're equal. The alternate is that the blue scores are greater than the red scores. The um, the alpha level is 0.05, and then there's the summary stats. Okay, so how do we find the test statistic? So what we're going to do is we're going to open up StatCrunch. And we're going to go to stat, and then we're going to go to t-stats now. We're not doing proportions now. Now we're doing means. Then we're going to go to two sample, and then with summary. So all that information that I wrote down, I need to enter. I've got 3.96 for the mean, standard deviation, and then we have 50, and I have 3.12, 0.94, and 49. All right, and now we're going to do a hypothesis test, but we're actually looking at the hypothesis that it is greater than 0, or mu1 is greater than mu2, as another way to state this. And I'm going to go ahead and hit compute. So when I do that, we get a t-statistic of 5.39 and a p-value of basically 0. So we're going to put 5.39 in here, and then we'll put 0 in here. And so what's the conclusion? Well, I mean, the p-value is clearly less than the significance level, so we'll reject the null hypothesis. And we have sufficient evidence to support the claim that blue enhances performance. Now, constructing confidence interval. So you got to be careful with this, because when you have a two-tailed test at a significance level, then that significance level translates to the confidence interval. But when you have a one-tailed test, like here, we have a significance level of 0.05. But since this is a one-tailed test, that 0.05 is in the right tail. We have to account for another 0.05 being in the left tail. So in other words, we're looking at a confidence level of 90% here. So let me go back into StatCrunch. And then I'm going to go to options and then edit. And so now I'm going to switch over to the confidence interval, but I have to adjust this for the fact that the 0.05 will be in both tails. So that'll be confidence interval of 90%. And then I'm going to hit compute. And then we get a confidence interval of 0.58 to 1.10. 0.58 to 1.10. 0.58 to 1.10. And what is it about the confidence interval that results in the same conclusion? Well, the confidence interval It does not contain 0. It contains only positive values. So there is sufficient evidence to support the claim that the mean of the blue scores is greater than the mean of the red scores. And that concludes this lesson.